so the next question's come in from Catherine Donnelly over at Engage, a service we work quite closely with.
Yep.
So, if a service or an organisation is starting from scratch in terms of co-production, what would be the most effective starting point?
Now that is a very interesting question, and I'd like to say there's a fixed answer for the same organisation, but I don't think there is. The ability to come in here and, like I say in the last question, is to stand still, take stock, look around, see what your assets are and your strengths are. That has to be a starting point, because one, you need to know your allies, you need to know your champions, you need to know what doors are open, what doors are closed. You also need to work with people that actually have this as an interest. For lots of years, you know, big services, small services made roles like this secondary to somebody else's job role. So somebody would be holding a caseload of 50, 60 a week, and then also be told you're the service user involved and coordinator. That they had no understanding of what that role was. They had no understanding of how to engage with people on that level, because it's not like engaging with somebody on a support worker to per person at supported level. You're engaging with them without power, engaging with them out with professional qualifications. It's actually meeting face to face. So being able to do that effectively. I always think that the closed doors theory, or, you know, don't say no to somebody just because a policy says so. Look at the policy and see where the flex is as well, because you might be surprised at interpretation that actually when a policy says something, it doesn't necessarily mean no to that. Like we talked about, you know, working with social media. And, you know, and I think this is a good idea, co-producing a social media policy that doesn't say don't do this, don't do that, don't do the other, because I'm sure working with service users, if we were talking about social media, they'd be telling us do this, do that, do the other. So it's also understanding that service delivery, while it might be right for us, it's not always right for the service user, and understanding that when we get service users involved, they do not have to understand our policies and procedures the way that we have to understand them, because I think that can sometimes, when you say to a service user that's fairly fresh into a service, oh, well, it's in the policy, and they say, I don't really care, and that insults us, and it shouldn't. I think, you know, we should be also be prepared to accept everything, not accept it face to face, but be expected to hear it, and be expected to hear the negative as well. You know, we're not all things to all people as much as we try to be, and that's sometimes difficult to hear, that we're getting something wrong, getting something, you know, vastly wrong, but we need to be prepared to hear it and be prepared to do something with what we hear.
Right. Sorry, I mean, I think, and not in a negative way, but I think one of the reasons of wanting to do this piece of work is that I do think we make assumptions sometimes, and not in a negative way, in a way that we think is really positive. So, you know, we'll make assumptions about something a client may want or need, or the way they want that communicated. And, you know, we all have to acknowledge we're all still learning, and things change as well. You know, I've been around a long time in this sector, and you know, I know that things have changed in terms of terminology and the way. We were having a conversation this morning, weren't we, about what do we call our service users? Do we call them clients? Do we call them service users? And again, those ideas have changed over the years drastically. You know, it was always service user when I was in this work years and years ago. I talk about client now, and I know some people don't like that, but that's me making an assumption that somebody would prefer to be called a client over a service user. That's not necessarily right. So this is a big part of this, is like you said, that open mind listening. It's the first part for me has got to be about listening to what people are saying.
And like I say, sometimes we don't like what we hear, but we have to be prepared to work with it.
Absolutely.
That's true for this work, full stop, innit? You know, we're working with people. People work sometimes means that we not everybody's like us. Not everybody has the same values, ideas and beliefs, and because of that, it makes it so interesting, especially when you come across somebody that's probably the polar opposite, and rather than create an echo chamber around you, you know, with people that are just like you, understanding, you know, the opposite opinion, the different value, the different idea and the different belief.